What is up, Steeler Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Steelers Hangover. I'm Daniel, alongside with me as always, Shannon. Shannon, how you doing on this Victory Monday? Pittsburgh Steelers take care of business yesterday. I'm sure you're feeling a lot better now than you did about 10 days ago.
Oh man, we had a wonderful Thanksgiving and family time and making memories, and then got to cap off the weekend, a nice extended weekend by watching my Steelers take care of them Tigers and in that Who Day season. So I was very happy.
I sure was as well, and I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving as well. Yeah, man, it was for me. I was a little bit nervous about this game going into it. You know, if you guys go and listen to the audio only podcast that you can find on steelcurtainnetwork.com, I said on Saturday that I thought the Pittsburgh Steelers were going to be close. I thought this game was going to be close, but I thought that the Bengals were going to pull it out 31. I think I said it was 31-27. And I was just a little bit concerned about the Steelers not getting the ball in the end zone. You know, they were having that struggle throughout the last couple of weeks. And man, every time I predict the other team to win, the Steelers always show up. So I might continue to do that. But I was extremely and happily relieved and surprised in the offense and how complete of a 180 they were able to do in the last 10 days. Great offensive performance. There's some questions about the defense, but first, what did you think about Arthur Smith's play calling in this game? What did you like about what you saw offensively from Arthur Smith's side of what he could do?
Well, as you said, a complete 180. But I was so impressed that was the most aggressive and confidently called and executed game since at least early 2020. And we hadn't seen anything like that consistently since 2018. So it had been a while, to say the least. And I thought Wilson, was audible in at the line. He was making great calls, adjustments. Their line adjustments were much improved to keep him clean. And when he was throwing it, he was on the money, beautiful. Mm-hmm. And they just called a game that I think they knew they had to score. I wasn't expecting. I expected, my prediction, I think, was 34-31 Steelers. But I wasn't expecting the two defensive touchdowns. You can never count on that. Mm-hmm. But my thing was, I wasn't expecting Joey Porter. I mean, that guy could not do anything without getting a penalty. and honestly, most of them were justified. I mean, it wasn't just he got out physical and he reacted late. And when you react late, you get caught. And he got abused by T. Higgins. And Tomlin mentioned that after the game. And so, to overcome that, and in that first play, I thought, oh my gosh, they were trying to be aggressive. Pickens gets pulled down by the helmet, no call. And they returned it for a touchdown. And I said, oh man, they're going to go super conservative. Nope. They let Russ grip it and rip it. And I think that was the difference in the game.
Oh, yeah. I think Russ played a huge part into why the Steelers were successful this past weekend. No doubt about that. I think it was even Najee who said after the game that they were actually going in there with a run game first mindset, and that it was Russ who was kind of changing some things, and not trying to say that or bring up anything about quarterbacks being the offensive coordinator in the Steelers offense. That's been said too many times for the last few seasons, but that Russ was able to have a little bit more freedom. And I think that I think there's more to that. It's not just, all right, Russ is calling his own play there. It's that Arthur Smith is throwing out multiple plays for him to call in certain situations. And since he is an experienced quarterback and one that has been doing a great job reading defenses, and especially this last game, I think that's what really made that successful, those play calls, because it's a combination of the two. I really like what I'm seeing. But yes, you're absolutely right. That first pass, I was like, oh no. Like, I was like, man, I got worried. I thought that it could have been a rolling stone, so to speak, where it was just going to tumble down in the wrong direction for us or for the Steelers. But the response, to go down the field, put up 7, to tie it up. Yeah, man, that should have been a penalty. How do you grab George Pickens from the back of the helmet and pull him
Exactly.
down? At any point while the ball is being thrown in his direction is not a penalty is beyond me. The refs were, in my opinion, very one-sided when it came to pass interference calls and things like that. The defense for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Joey Porter got a lot, but nobody was apparently interfering the Steelers wide receivers, even though there was clear evidence of such. And so it's kind of like an every week thing, right? The Steelers versus the opponent and the refs. Hopefully it'll get done.
There's something funny, and I was concerned about this when they said they figured out a way to get the Steelers on Hard Knocks.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's almost like, well, we're going to, with the refs and the NFL, and we're going to script some stuff to keep these games so they have meaning, they have intrigue, and people want to tune in to watch the Hard Knocks and see what's being said behind the scenes. Because it's good for ratings. It's good for the NFL. And we know this is what runs everything. So I just think that, tonight, Cleveland's playing Denver. And Cleveland's 3-8. And they're an afterthought this year. But if you listen to them announcers and you listen to the mainstream media, Cleveland's got it all. I mean, it's unbelievable they ain't playing for the Super Bowl. And Joe Burrows and that offense is a juggernaut. And they should be playing for the Super Bowl. If only they wasn't in the same division, it could be Cleveland and Cincinnati in the Super Bowl. That's what these people would like. And if they don't hide their bias, and it's actually nauseating. So I hope Cleveland loses again tonight, and then maybe we won't have to hear about them anymore.
Well, we'll always have to hear about them, especially with the next matchup, TJ versus, Myles Garrett rematch.
Well,
so yeah. We're going to hear it for the next week or so. But going back to what we were saying, yeah, man, I forgot where we were there. But you had mentioned something, and I wanted to bring it up, and then it paused on me. My mistake. So going back into the offense, though. Najee Harris, he had himself a game. He ran very well with the ball. He ended up going down for a little bit, couple of series. Blamed it on the Pat Fryermuth's girlfriend's Thanksgiving dessert pie, and
that wasn't fair to her. That wasn't fair to her. He ate too much.
Yeah, Thanksgiving was a few days ago too, so I was like, "What's going on here?" And so I thought that was funny. I thought it was something serious, to be honest with you. I thought he pulled a groin or something like that when he was running. It looked kind of weird. Fortunately, it wasn't anything too serious. We got to see Cordell Patterson in there. What do you think about the usage of Jaylen Warren in this game?
I was kind of confused. Last week, I don't remember if it was the Hangover podcast or Pump Your Brakes, but I said the thing that's baffling me is we have receivers who are good, running backs that are good receivers.
Mm-hmm.
And we keep them in to block when there's an overload. And then instead, they always swing out. I said swing right through the line. Nobody covers the middle of the field against the Steelers because the Steelers just don't go there.
True.
And I mentioned it on the podcast. Well, Sunday, guess what happened? 10 receptions to running backs. Maybe 11. I can't remember. I think Patterson was a wide receiver when he caught that. But anyway, at least 10 receptions to running backs. And how many times did you see him float right through the line, wide open middle of the field for 8 to 10 yards? I mean, it's there. And if you do that, and then all that seam work that Russell Wilson was doing, because the touchdown to Freiermuth was up the seam, touchdown to Austin was up the seam. He had another big play to Jefferson. Vance Jefferson up the seam. I mean, they're starting to utilize the whole field. That makes the Steelers scary. Now, the defense, there's still some work to be done, but hey, the Steelers offense under Wilson is coming around.
Oh, I really do like what we're seeing here. And I thought Russ had a great performance. That interception wasn't really on him.
Oh, no.
You take that interception out of it. He had 3 touchdowns and 400 plus yards through the air, 44 points. I mean, the Steelers haven't scored that since 2018. You know, a quarterback hasn't thrown that many yards since 2018 either. It was Ben Roethlisberger.
And the first time 500 some yards sits in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the offense we have to be liking what we're seeing out of this offense. I mean, this is night and day, you know, compared to what we've seen in previous years. But, and I know that, you know, I myself was very critical over the offensive play calling over the last couple of weeks. You know, I just think that they need to stay aggressive. You know, if they go back to that conservative mode and just want to pound the rock consistently, which I understand the weather and you know, those things are going to try to dictate your game plan, and getting, you know, close to January, the weather is going to be a huge component of the game. But, you know, trying to stay in this mode where, hey, we might pass the ball on first down. So you have to play honest, and that'll give Najee those running lanes, but not overdo it where they're just kind of clashing in and you're getting 1 or 2 yard gains. You know, I like the differences there in second down and long. There wasn't so many running plays. You know, overall, I thought Arthur Smith probably coached his best game of the season. What do you think?
Oh, here's the thing. You said it earlier, and I will talk about it.
Yeah.
Is the quarterback is your best offensive coordinator.
That's true.
On the better teams, now that takes the offensive coordinator to have design plays that the quarterback can choose from. That's the difference. Matt Canada couldn't design a play to save his life. He could not design a receiver open. Forget it. Arthur Smith can. But Arthur Smith, and we hear about it, and Russell Wilson are spending long nights together at the facilities going over this. And then Tomlin trusts Smith and Wilson enough to back off, get out of the way, and let them do this. And to have a competent quarterback who can audible, I mean, there was times yesterday, like you said, the game plan was to pound the rock, and Wilson's like, well, if they're going to give it to us, we're going to take it. And he did. And so to me, that is the difference. Arthur Smith is competent, which they haven't had under Matt Canada. Arthur Smith is competent, but it goes hand in hand. You got to have the competent quarterback as well. And he's got one. And the way they can use Fields, you know, you didn't want to use him yesterday. Wilson was cooking. It would have made no sense to try to use Fields. But when there was the opportunity, they used him correctly. So it's great to have two.
Yeah, when they put him in there in that play, I was like, are they going to – obviously he's going to run the ball. I think even the announcers called it. And the Bengals bit on it so hard. I think they overthought it. They're like, hey, they're going to pull him out there so everybody's going to think he's going to run the ball, attack the running back. And the Steelers are just like, all right, we're going to keep it simple. You're going to run the ball.
If you ain't paying attention, and say you're on defense, and a 3 and a 2, and I wonder sometimes, do they realize that Fields is in there, you know, when they run him in like that? Because, I mean, the way that outside guy had contained, he charged down so hard, it was a gimme.
Well, I've been to a game this year. I can tell you can tell the difference between Russell Wilson. There's a height difference and a size difference. But, yeah, I'm sure they're well aware. It's just I think earlier in the game they handed the ball off, and I think they overthought it, and which ended up working out perfectly for the Steelers. He took Fields took an extra couple of yards before he slid, making sure he got the first down this time. You know, learn from your past mistakes. I like it. On offensively, Darnell Washington, I think he had a pass on there where he broke out and got like the first down.
Yep.
Pat Fryermuth, you brought up that play earlier, and I think that's where I wanted to go when I forgot where we were. You brought up that play with Pat Fryermuth. I mean, it's been a long time since I've seen a quarterback be able to make that type of play. Him
Since
stopping.
Ben.
Yeah. And younger Ben stopping and just throwing that sidearm and getting the ball there. I mean, that there was another play earlier in the season where it was also to Pat Fryermuth where I was like, man, that is, what you want out of your quarterback. If you have plays like that coming out of your quarterback, you're going to go very far. And I think now the Steelers 9-3, the Ravens losing last night. Now everything's right in front of them. They just got to go do what they got to do. But defensively, you know what? Let's just stick on the offense real quick. George Pickens, he cost the Steelers a couple of yards there with the antics. He's saying that the referees got the wrong gesture. I don't know about that one. It was pointing for a first down, but it did kind of look kind of odd. He dropped the ball on another defensive back, which obviously was going to get the penalty.
Yep.
I was so glad that he didn't get ejected, but I thought that was a huge possibility because I didn't know.
Yeah, it looked
I was
like
freaking out. What are your thoughts about George Pickens, about the possible, that play? Did you think he was getting ejected as well?
Yeah, I thought he did. He's his own worst enemy. I know Tomlin has conversations with him. I guarantee he does. I mean, I keep hearing he's young. Yes. He's high strung. He wants to win really bad. I have no doubt about any of that. And the guy's immensely talented. But part of being a winner is being a good winner. And there's being a good loser. Now, you don't ever want to become a good loser, but you want to be respectful and not act the fool when you do. And not every play is going to go your way. And that's what I keep saying. We've seen how many fights after college games this weekend. Now, I'm going to jump over to college for a second because you have the whole game to fight, the whole game to dominate your opponent and to do what you got to do to win. Now, when the game's over, I think you got some sense and you earned the victory. And if you're going to go try to plant your flag in the middle of the field, at the opponent's field, you can expect there's going to be blowback. And then everybody's surprised that there's a little bit of pushing and shoving and all that kind of stuff. Even some guys getting maced, I guess, or whatever they call it, pepper spray. But what I'm saying is we need, part of being a good coach and a good program is teaching character and honor and how to be a winner. And I like Georgia. I've rooted for them when Pickens was down there. But some of these guys coming out of there are not displaying character and being respectful. And when you hurt your team, that's unacceptable. When you cost your team 30 yards in stupid penalties. Now, that could cost you in the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it has to stop. It really does. And it's going to make the difference for millions of dollars on his contract. So, he needs to realize that. Hey, be a Larry Fitzgerald in an Antonio Brown world. Nobody has any complaints about Larry Fitzgerald, never did. Try to emulate that guy.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. There. At the end of the day, I think what you do on the field talks more than what you're doing after the play and all this other, the antic stuff. The catches that he makes, the performances that he's had are on their own amazing. You don't need to draw the extra attention to it.
Exactly. If you're good, you're good.
Yeah.
I mean,
it cost the Steelers some points this week.
Yeah.
And, I think that we saw some good leadership there with Broderick Jones. He went out there and he was talking to him several different times to kind of tell him, hey, you got to think about the team first and calm him down before he can go out there and create more of an issue for him himself.
Yeah.
So he's a young guy, but he needs to grow up a little bit quicker, in my opinion. And I think that's what Mike Tomlin said in his press conference as well.
When
You know,
he did
go
when
ahead.
Broderick Jones is the voice of reason. That's not good.
Yeah, he ended up getting into almost a little scuffle a couple plays after that, and I'm like, Broderick, listen to your own advice. Get back. Yeah, I mean, but they're passionate guys. They just need to fine tune that passion and aim it in the right direction.
There you go. Yes.
In this game, I thought that one, Kevin Austin did really, really good. I thought he was really excellent out there until he got hurt. He had the touchdown. He had the he had another play as well, but he ends up going out. A lot of people thinking maybe, hey, the Steelers are, you might see Mike Williams playing for the Steelers now, and no, it doesn't happen. Ben's number 15. I can't pronounce his last name.
I think it's Stronach.
Stronzik,
something like it. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
have to read it. If I read it, I see it. I'll know it. He actually did pretty good. I mean, I'm not going to say that his performance was bad, that they should have thrown out Mike Williams out there or anything like that. I thought number 15 played well. He had one major catch. He was out there blocking. He's a big guy.
Good.
Yeah, I didn't realize how big he was until he was out there. Up against some of the other, like the receivers, when he stood next to George Pickens, and he was kind of towering him. And so I thought he played well. But Calvin Austin, man, I think he's coming around. But I'm a little concerned. This is the second time this year with a concussion. What are your thoughts on the wide receiver position outside of George Pickens, since we've already discussed him?
Well, what we're saying is why I did not want the Steelers to get a high-priced guy that they were going to have to commit to long-term, because then they wouldn't have been able to afford Pickens and everything. And I also had more faith in Calvin Austin to be more than just a gadget guy, because he reminds me of Tyler Lockett. And Russell Wilson said that earlier in the year, and he likes throwing to him. And when you see they attack the seams or down the middle or crossers and get the ball to him in space, he can be very effective. And so it's also forcing them to utilize Jefferson, Stronach, not Williams yet, but, there is options there. Freiermuth, who I thought had more catches than he had. He had 6. But it seemed like he caught more than that. So I like the fact they have a well-versed passing attack that they can throw to a lot of guys. Yep. And Wilson is good at finding the open guy. So that second hit, Austin took 2 huge shots. But the second one, the one that he, knocked him out of the game, it was like a car crash. Yeah. I mean, he looked like a crash dummy. He really did, because he's so little.
Yeah.
So hopefully he's okay. And it's not a long-term concussion holding him out.
Yeah, when I saw it, I immediately started saying, you got to get him out. Like,
yeah.
Like, he stood up, and I think the Steelers ended up running the timeout on the clock in that play afterwards. But he was standing there, and he just didn't. He looked dazed. He looked out of it. And so I was like, you got to get him in the tent at least. Check him out. Don't let him get back out there on the field, because he looked concussed to me. I'm not a doctor. I just play one on TV. I'm just kidding. But I thought it was dangerous if he would have came in. He goes out there, gets tested, and I'm not sure if he's been diagnosed with a concussion or not. I know that he was being evaluated, and that's what Tomlin said after the game, that he was still being evaluated for a concussion. I think we'll find out more in the press conference tomorrow. But yeah, overall, I thought the wide receivers played well. I mean, they put up some points. They caught the ball. They got open. And one thing that I also noticed, especially with like Pat Freiermuth and some of the tight ends, I'm sure the receivers were doing it as well, but from the TV angle, it's kind of hard to see. But it did appear that when Russ was getting out of the pocket, that the tight ends were moving with him. and I believe the receivers were too. But it's something that I think they needed to really take a deep dive and look at themselves as far as the receiving group, and realize that they need to help out their quarterback when he goes out there, because he can make some plays. And I think we saw that this week, a much improved receiving core moving with the quarterback. I liked what I saw there.
And I did mention it earlier. 10 catches from the running backs. You got to throw them in there. And that's some free yardage the way teams have been playing the Steelers. So there's plenty of options to throw it to.
Yeah.
They just, as you say, have to do a better job getting open and working back to the ball.
Yes, sir. We're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a couple words from our sponsors. And we're back. Welcome back to the Hangover. That was a great break. I hope you guys enjoyed it. But back to the conversation. Defensively, Steelers versus Bengals. Defensively, I mean, you look at the points. You see 38 points. Reality is 31 because the pick six wasn't on the defense. So 31 points allowed in the game. You would think that it was a bad game or a bad performance from the defense. And although, I mean, to a certain extent, they did give up quite a bit in the air. They had a lot of splash plays and a lot of, game-defining moments in the game that I think ended up helping the Steelers obviously win the game. TJ Watt, welcome back. We I'm glad that he showed up. Him, Cam Hayward, they look like this was like 2020 or something. They look a lot younger. There you go. What were your thoughts on the older guys there, on TJ Watt and Cam Hayward in this game?
Well, showing due respect. Cam Hayward turned back the hands of time, and he abused that poor boy. Hayward was dominant. Early in the game, I was very frustrated by Brown, and guys didn't keep their lane integrity, and was doubling Hayward. Well, as the game went on, game away a little bit. And by taking the running game away, it did kind of show it's great to be physical, but you have to are just they're too blatantly obvious.
Hey, Shannon, you're breaking up quite a bit. I'm not sure if it's me or you, but it's breaking up quite a bit.
I think especially. Oh, is it?
Yeah. It's kind of very difficult to hear right now. I don't know if you want to reset up and then come back in.
Yeah, I'll try.
All right, sounds good. But for me, guys, seeing TJ Watt come back, Cam Hayward had huge plays. There was the play where he it was right before they ended up getting a touchdown. The Bengals is, but there was a run at the 1 yard line, unblocked, and just kind of laid the hammer on the running back there for the Cincinnati Bengals. Got a sack there against Joe Burrow. It was just wreaking havoc back there. Vintage Cam Hayward, in my opinion. I thought his performance was, what you want to see, especially out of those guys that have been there, who have done it, who have been established. Show the younger guys like, hey, you still can do this. That they still can do this at a high level. You just got to work at it and continue to work at it. And, great game from them. JPJ, Joey Porter Jr., he had some issues out there, obviously, when it came to being a little bit handsy. I think we spoke about it earlier in the show. 20, was it like six flags that were thrown at Joey Porter Jr.? He didn't have himself the best game. It wasn't the best game for him. But I don't. What do you think, Shannon? Let's check. Are you with me now?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. It's a little slow, but it's not as bad. Yeah, it's hard to hear you. You're frozen right now. If you can hear me, apologize for the technical difficulties here. But yeah, with Joey Porter Jr.
Yeah, I don't know what to do.
Oh, there it is. It sounds right. You look like you're moving on time now. So, what did you think about Joey Porter Jr.? Oh, he pulled himself out. All righty. Sorry about that, guys. Maybe Shannon will come back. If not, it'll be just me. So Joey Porter Jr. had few penalties on the game. He's gotta get that under control. He's already making a name for himself as a handsy cornerback who's going to get a lot of penalties. The refs are looking for it. They're going to be looking for that. They're going to be looking for his physicality, and he's just going to have to. One, I think he's going to have to figure out his glove situation. I get trying to look cool and all, wearing the white gloves with the white sleeves and, with the white, jersey and all that. Well, that stands out on their darker color and their orange, jerseys. Now, I mean, he's not going to wear an orange glove or anything like that, but maybe perhaps, well, I guess maybe you can't win on that one. Maybe a red glove. He's wearing red gloves. That's probably not something that's noticeable as much. But yeah, he's getting a little bit too handsy. As Shannon mentioned earlier in the top of the show, he kind of deserved every single one of those penalties, all of them. I mean, he even had a situation where he had 2 penalties in one play. That needs to get under control. Outside of the outside linebackers, we talked about TJ Watt. Nick Herbig just comes in and continues to get splash plays, responsible for a sack fumble that Wilson ended up picking up and taking it in for a defensive touchdown. And, I think when it comes to Nick Herbig, he has just proven that he's going to be a guy that is going to be a havoc. For me, I eat crow every time I watch him play because, when he was drafted, I thought he should be an inside linebacker. I thought he would be best off ball and maybe perhaps in coverage. And he has proven me wrong every time he gets out there on the field. His pass rush is amazing. And when you're going up against teams that are going to be throwing the ball a lot, maybe perhaps like Steelers have the Chiefs, they still have Baltimore and the Eagles, where they're going to be trying to put the ball up in the air. The Ravens will always try to put the ball up in the air against the Steelers. It's just what they do. They try to throw it on the team, and it never works out. But those are the games that I think we're going to see Nick Herbig come in and really dominate. Maybe in this upcoming game against Cleveland as well. But inside, I thought they played all right. Elandon Roberts, I thought he kind of struggled a little bit in this game. There were some times where he was, missing the tackle, or they were running to his direction. And I felt that when Peyton Wilson got into the game, it was a little bit less of those running plays. That there was a big run towards the in the first half, where I think it was like 50 yards or something like that. And then another run by Chase Brown, who got him into the end zone. Elandon Roberts, I know on the end zone, on the touchdown run, he missed him. And so Not saying he's a bad player or anything like that. I think at this point, I think maybe Peyton Wilson in there a little bit more often would be a something good to see, in my opinion. As far as like the safeties, Mika Fitzpatrick, he ended up not coming up with any splash plays in this game. I thought that they would, target him a little bit more. They did kind of, but not really. They didn't really attack his side. And that's one of the things is reasons why I don't think he gets a lot of splash plays is because teams are trying to go to the other direction. Yeah, they did play a prevent defense. I felt that after the Pittsburgh Steelers went up 17 to up 17 points, I think it was when there was like 24 to 30 something or 41. And I felt like they kind of took the foot off the gas, so to speak. And I thought that they allowed the Bengals to get back into the game. I was kind of concerned there. I was like, man, you can't get up by 17 points in the fourth quarter and then allow this to come back to you and haunt you. And so, welcome back, Shannon. Glad you're back.
I apologize. I'm not. I don't know what else to do. I hated to desert you, but we rerouted everything. Tried. I hope it works.
You look a lot clearer, and a lot better. So yeah, I think it is working. I think it's working very well. So we talked a little bit about Joey Porter Jr. I then talked about Nick Herbig. What are your thoughts on Nick Herbig?
Well, I could hear you, some of the stuff you were saying. And I was the same way. I thought he was going to be off ball linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wrong. His closing speed's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when, he chases somebody down or he gets that edge, he explodes on the quarterback. So that was a beautiful strip sack. He learned that from TJ.
Mm-hmm.
And here's TJ leading the NFL in forced fumbles, and Herbig's tied for second with 4. And I mean, and very limited opportunities.
Yeah, I agree. He's done well. Alex Highsmith, I think, is going to be coming back this week, or there's a good chance that he's going to be coming back this week. Mm-hmm. We're probably going to see more Alex Highsmith out there against the Browns. But the one thing with who the Steelers have now, and as far as depth with Smith as well, is there's not that much of a drop off when TJ comes out or Highsmith comes out when they need a break or a breather. I really, really do think that they've done a really great job, Omar Khan and the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, of acquiring these guys and playing them in their situations that work out best for them. Because Herbig, he'll be out there when it's obvious downs, when it's obvious passing downs. And so, and we'll see Preston Smith a little bit more often when it's possibly more of a running first, second down, in this upcoming game. But when Alex Highsmith is out there, you can even utilize all 3 of them on the field and make and really create some havoc. So I'm really excited to see Alex Highsmith coming back. What do you think that the Steelers defense failed? I mean, they obviously allowed so many points on the board. What do you think they could have done better?
Well, they were able to generate pressure mostly with the 4, and that's what they really like to do. I think that I'd like to see them play tighter coverage. They did a lot of off man and zone again, especially when they had the lead. They let Cincy go right down the field and score really, really quick, and almost made it irrelevant, until they hit that pass to Jefferson to basically end the game. But yeah, I'm concerned. I've said all year, I wish they had one more big boy in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
A run stuffer. Because I think a better running team like the Eagles is going to be able to exploit the center of the Steelers defense. I think early in that Bengals game, you could see that they needed Peyton Wilson out there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was times that Roberts could not get outside and keep up with Brown or the tight end in coverage. But when Wilson came in, that was done. And I just think that there's games where Roberts is really effective, but at this point, Wilson has earned more playing time, if not be the starter in a lot of cases. So I think the Steelers linebackers is as good as they've been in years. And I'm okay with the defensive line. I just think that they're missing that one element, that one big guy.
Yeah, I think the only player the Steelers will get back for the middle is going to be Montravius Adams, which I do think he's an upgrade there in the middle, especially in the depth portion of what he's going to do. He's always gotten pressure applied up the middle. He's stopped the run. He's not the biggest of guys, but he does perform. And so I'm excited to get him back once he's ready to rock and roll off of IR and ready to get back onto the 53. But yeah, I'm with you, man. Peyton Wilson, I think, has been, an amazing draft pick. And even like the game like this past Sunday, Patrick Queen didn't play his best game either. It felt like there was some times where he missed the angle or he just missed the tackle altogether. And I don't know. I don't know if he just, just had a bad game, which is probably what it is. I mean, they're human. You know what I mean? Every now and then they're going to have a bad game. But the middle linebackers, I think, were really targeted in this game, especially with the passes over the middle. There's times where Chase was covered by Queen. I don't think that's a good matchup there. No. And and so
and they kept putting Queen on it ain't Giuseppe. What was that big tall tight end they got? The Bengals have. They got him from Miami. He's a free agent.
Yeah, I don't know.
But anyway, he was a terrible matchup for Queen. Yeah, Queen's maybe 6 foot, and this cat's like 6'7", and he was eating his lunch.
Yeah. Queen didn't have the greatest of games, and I think that Peyton Wilson being in there and helping him out, I think that would have been a benefit here. But overall, the defense created splash. The secondary got a pick. There's a forced fumble. I like what they did. They just, shouldn't have taken their foot off the gas at the end. I think the Bengals were like they had 24 points, and I think that's when everybody thought, or when I felt that everybody thought the game was over. Steelers were up by 17 at that point. In reality, 7 of those 24 points were from that. That pick six that probably shouldn't even have happened. So in reality, they only scored like 18 points at that point. And then the Steelers take the foot off the gas. And then all of a sudden, boom, here it comes. Because there was a point there where Chase had 36 yards and going into the fourth quarter. And all of a sudden, he ended up making a day for himself. So, I think that that played a huge component. But I do think Peyton Wilson out there is going to be for the best benefit of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I'm just the last 2 draft classes has helped rebuild the Steelers foundation. And then the last 2 free agency classes, I think, have went a long way to rebuilding their depth.
Yeah, I agree. We got a couple of things I highlighted here I wanted to bring up. Thomas Riley says, how many wins will it take to clinch the division for the Steelers? Man, I think they need if they win this week, they go 10. I think they need to win at least 3 more, get to 12 wins. And I think that does it to get the division. Where are you at on this, Shannon? How many wins do the Steelers need to have to clinch the division?
I'll say 12 as well. I think they need to beat both Ohio teams left on the schedule. And then they need to win preferably the Ravens game. Yeah. But to do it in Baltimore, it's going to be tough. But to win in Philly, the Steelers, I think it was 1960-something since they've done that. So I'm not holding my breath. And then to try to beat the Chiefs, the way things are looking this year, it just some crazy calls. It just seems almost fated that the NFL wants to see their first three-peat.
Yeah.
And so it's going to take an act of God to beat the Chiefs this year. So I would prefer they could beat the Ravens. I think that would definitely seal it. But yeah, they need 3 more. I agree.
Yeah, 3 more. Beat the Ravens is definitely a must, and the Steelers are in. When it comes to the Chiefs, though, they really haven't been putting up as many points as they had in the past. Did the Steelers go in with the mindset that they have had for this past game and pass and throw the ball and try to put up some points on the board? Put them in obvious passing downs. The Chiefs really don't have too many throwing options outside of Mr. Swift. I mean, Kelsey. And I think a lot of their wide receivers got hurt throughout the year, and so I think the Steelers can get them in obvious passing situations. Then I think the defense will hone in on them. I also think that the Steelers. It's a short week. It's at home. It's a big difference when the Steelers are playing on the road and at home on a short week. I think that, and I know we're quite a few weeks away from that, not trying to look too far ahead, but I think the Steelers might surprise some people with that. Mr. Green asks me if I'm going to the game this Sunday. I am not. I won't be there this week. Dennis, $5 super chat. JPJ will have 12 penalties against the Chiefs. Unfortunate.
That's possible. That is possible, yes.
While the Steelers are on offense.
Yeah, he'll get taunty from the sidelines.
Yeah, that's right. That is right. It'll be crazy, but yeah, no, I think I think the Eagles game is going to be tough. I think that one's going to be the toughest game, but the rest of them are winnable for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they can win every game, even the Eagles game. I think that's winnable. They got history and on the Eagles side for this one, and they got a heck of a team out there, and they're very difficult at home. But the Steelers, they can do something about that. But the rest of the season, I think they can win every game. And if they win 3-4 games, then watch out. Maybe they're getting closer to playing for a first round bye. They only have 3 losses on the year. Shannon, do you have any last things you want to say before we let everybody go?
No, I'm encouraged. This is the first time that I feel like the Steelers' trajectory this late in the season is heading up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in 2020, they were 11-0, but you never felt that. It was this and down. Even when it's one thing if you go 9-8 or 10-7 and you squeak in the playoffs. You didn't have a lot of confidence, say, last year that they were going to, because they got hot at the end with Rudolph, but so many injuries, so many practice squad guys starting, So not only do they need to continue to win and continue to show sustainable improvement, but they need to try to stay healthy as possible. And, they've got a ton of talent, and it's unproven, some of it, but I see Frazier, McCormick, Wilson, these young guys improving by the week. So that should bode well for the future and give us all hope.
Yeah, I agree with you. You're absolutely right. I haven't been this confident going into the latter part of the season since probably 2018. That was probably the last time I felt like, all right, we're going on a groove. This is uncharted territory, which is why a lot of people are a little bit not so much timid, but don't want to throw out the possible Super Bowl contender thing around when it comes to the Steelers. And I mean, right now they look like the most complete team out there. Offense, defense, special teams. They're not perfect. They've had their moments. Boz had a kick blocked in Cincinnati, which was shocking on its own. But and the defense allowed so many points. However, that's not going to happen all the time. I mean, they were playing probably, the best version of Joe Burrow he's ever been since being in the NFL. His connection with Jamar Chase has been through the roof. He had Higgins out there. You're going to have to be able to put up points when you're going up against teams like that. And they answered the bell. I'm excited. I'm excited. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and checking us out. Please make sure you go check out the website, steelcurtainnetwork.com, your one-stop shop for Steelers news and coverage. Steelers play Cleveland. I think it's a little bit of a revenge game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm excited to watch it. Shannon, take us out.
Also, I apologize for the connection issues. Thanks for holding down the fort, Brother Daniel.
You're welcome.